Joining me online is Amit Segal. He's chief political analyst for Israel's leading news outlet, Channel 12 News, as well as the country's most read newspaper, Yediot Acharonot. He also anchors Israel's highly watched Meet the Press. Amit, thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben.
So why don't we start with where the war stands after 4 days? Essentially, Israel has done an incredible job, it appears, of knocking off the top levels of the Iranian military. They've taken out certain nuclear sites like Natanz. The big questions remain Fordo, what Israel plans to do with the regime. Why don't you give me the update on where you think the war stands right now?
I'm sorry to give an American audience an allegory with football, with the European football, aka soccer, but it's the equivalent of Israel leading 5-0. And now we are in the last minute, and all the Iranians can do is just, try to hit the players, not to win the game, but to cause damage, to prevent them from playing in the next season. This is what is happening. Israel actually took 90% of the assets, of the nuclear assets of the Iranian regime, 33% of the launchers, I think 25% of the ballistic missiles, and 100% of the Iranian deterrence. The idea of an Iranian new Persian empire that rules the Middle East was shattered, and everyone in the Middle East is hearing the noise as we speak. Now, what Iranians can do is to try to kill as many Israeli civilians as possible in order to deter Israel or to try to create some kind of a balance, but it's definitely not the case. Now, as for Fordo is like the back plan for the fallback position for the Iranian nuclear program. You can do many of the things there, not everything, because it's 90 meters under the ground. It's very protected. The U.S. Army can do it. The Israeli Army can do part of it. Now, here's the thing as for Fordo. In order to do something in Fordo, you have actually to have people who know what to do. They are all dead by now. 9 out of the 9 most influential nuclear scientists are dead. And I don't think there would be a high demand if someone is recruiting for office for this new job, because it does not promise a long life expectancy.
So the question at this point is sort of where this goes from here. So obviously the IAF has essentially an open runway all the way from Israel to Tehran. There was a warning this morning, Eastern time, that people should get out of particular areas of Tehran because Israel is hitting military and political targets in Tehran after Tehran has been firing missiles directly into population centers in Israel. So far, Israel's air defenses have performed really, really well, but obviously you're talking about hundreds of missiles that have been fired into Israel. These are large missiles with significant payloads. And so there have been many people injured. There have been some who have been killed in Israel, but on balance, as you say, there's no question that Israel has been absolutely rocking the Iranian regime, while the Iranians are basically just attempting to kill Israeli civilians and not being extraordinarily successful at it. So what is the end game here? How much longer is it going to take for Israel to achieve its strategic goals here? And is Ayatollah Khamenei on the target list as well?
Okay. So let's begin with the life expectancy of the war. Israel's most successful war was the 6-day war, and Iran's most well-known war was the 8-year war with Iraq. So they have they can breathe for a longer time. They are a longer country. But first, Israel eliminated their ability to produce many ballistic missiles. Israel took their anti-aircraft systems. So if they shoot, let's say, 75 missiles a night in order to overcome Israel's anti-missile systems, it means necessarily that within 30 days, this war is over for the Iranians. More than this, Israel has already taken 1/3 of the launchers, which means that as time passes, Israel recognizes and destroys more than before. So I would say they have more for 2-3 weeks, unless they actually abandon the strategy of trying to overcome the Israeli aircraft systems and Israeli anti-missile systems, and they turn to the Yemenite option of firing 1 ballistic missile a night, and then they have for 3 years. I don't think they will take the risk, because Israel can escalate 3-4 more levels while Iranians are only left with this option. Israel, for instance, can eliminate the Iranian economy by attacking Bandar Abbas port. Israel can take the oil and gas industry, which accounts for 85% of the of the Iranian economy. Israel can eliminate Khamenei, as you said. One day he'll have to get out of his bunkers somewhere in northern Tehran. By the way, Israel knows where he is, and he would be killed. So I think it leads me to the conclusion that Iranians are seeking a quick end to this conflict before Fordow is destroyed and the Iranian economy would vanish.
And so that brings up the question of the American involvement in all of this. President Trump has suggested that he would like to reach an off-ramp here. Obviously, there's a bit of good cop, bad cop that's being played here, where Israel is the bad cop, slapping the Iranians around, and the United States is saying to the Ayatollahs, listen, if you want to preserve Fordow, if you want to preserve your lives, then you really should come to the table. Iran has not evidenced tremendous willingness to do that at this point, probably because they believe that if they give up Fordow, then that will put them in a position where their regime falls inside the next couple of years anyway, because they're deeply worried that without a nuclear future, that their regime is in danger. Where do you think the possibility of negotiation lies here? Or is Israel just going to continue for the next few days, upping the ante? As you say, it's kind of a catch-22 for the Iranians. If they continue to fire these missiles, even if Israel doesn't eliminate the launchers, they run out of missiles. And also, every time they fire a missile, Israel's blowing up the launchers. I mean, last night, there was a home command front in Israel, home front command, put out a warning to Israelis that they should all stay near their safe rooms. And for 2 hours, nothing happened. And that was because Israel was preemptively blowing up all of the launchers in Iran that were going hot before they could launch the missiles. So Iran is really stuck in a box here. What does the off-ramp look like? Do you think Iran takes it?
I think Iranians they have a very narrow path, not to victory, but to actually end the war. They must react, must retaliate in order to preserve the standing of the administration in the eyes of the Iranian people and the entire Middle East. And on the other hand, they cannot escalate too much because of all the reasons I've just mentioned. So what I think is that they must end the war. Now, here's the thing. I'm not sure that the Iranians these days, and this Ayatollah Khamenei, the 86-year-old and a very sick and not very stable Khamenei, is the smart guy that we have known in the past. We were lectured about Iranians have, 3,000-year experience in bargaining in the bazaar. But I have to say that, and because we talked about it privately a few times over the last few months, that we couldn't believe our eyes to see Iranians so reluctant to make any concessions. They just drove Trump to greenlight Israel to attack Iran. So here's the thing. Rationally speaking, they must actually bring the war to an end. But from what I'm hearing, and the fact that the Iranian parliament today passed a resolution to leave the anti-proliferation treaty, it almost forces the U.S. to act. And that's why I wouldn't gamble on the Iranians, because they don't act rationally.
So, as far as this is concerned, obviously the missiles continue to fly into Israel. As we've said, the death count in Israel at this point is not high by comparative standards, but you're talking about civilians who are being killed in Israel. So what is the attitude on the ground, considering that, again, these missiles are falling in central Tel Aviv, which is a highly populated area?
Yes. So they can actually fire at Tel Aviv. They actually tried to do it. 22 Israeli citizens and tourists were killed over the last 3 nights. It's not a very pleasant experience to be in the shelter 3 times a night, although you get used to it. My grandmother was born in London and she spent the Blitz in the bombed city of London. They experienced a death toll of 40,000 Britons, and just a comparison. So Israelis will stand, they will stay firm, they will stand firm, and they will survive it. You hear amazing things from people who lost their homes and say to the IDF, just, keep buggering on, as Winston Churchill said. So I'm quite optimistic about the spirit, the Israeli spirit, and I think that it's not the case, to say the least, with the Iranian people. Just a few minutes ago, the IDF issued a warning for more than 1 million citizens in Tehran to leave their homes because Israel is about to bomb the Iranian television, the television that actually spreads poison, anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic poison. So this is just a hint of what Israel can do without, of course, bombing civilians.
Well, that's Amit Segal from Channel 12. Remember to check out his Telegram, which is the best source for information on the war and Israeli politics generally. Amit, thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.